Hi everyone! I bet you thought when I came back to my favourite state in Mexico that I would do a nice, easy, relaxing video. Come on, this is me you're talking about.
Hola amigos and welcome back to Mexico. The state of San Luis Potosí is a special place. But what's so great about San Luis the state is the variety. I visited Xilitla and the bizarre Edward James Garden, the tiny Cedral, and the mind-blowing and much-loved Riel de Catorce, a distant jewel far away in the cactus-filled desert, telling the story of the mining history in San Luis. But today we're in a place which could steal Catorce's crown. An active mining town at risk from today, once again, you're going to find out why.
Going for a closer look. Now if you're like me and you really appreciate visiting off the beaten track locations in Mexico like this video might be of interest to you. I'm in Cerro de San Pedro, which is a very small pueblito off to the northeast of San Luis Potosí city itself. You might notice I'm saying Cerro, not Cerro. Despite being in and out of Mexico for almost 3 years now, I still struggle with the double R, so I'm going to say Cerro or Hill of San Pedro. Now, as I'm sure you'll be aware, getting to places like this can be a bit of a nightmare. It certainly was for me today, so I'm not going to talk about it in the video. I'm going to put that down in the description below. Hopefully that might help. Hello. Off up at a slightly windy mirador, a viewpoint over an open pit mine. More on that in a second, but let's take a look at it. Look at that. And Cerro de San Pedro, as with much of this region, San Luis Potosí and central Mexico, it has a great history with mining, particularly around precious metals like gold and silver, things like that. We've all seen in my videos those places in like Taxco where you go to all these jewelry shops, silver shops. It's awesome. And the thing about this place is that I'm kind of comparing it to Riel de Catorce, where I went last year. You can check that video out. Areas like this, as I said, they're not kind of popular with international tourists, except me apparently. There's a book down there when you come up to this viewpoint where you have to put where you're from, and I was the only one that wasn't from Mexico. Everyone was from SLP. There was only one person from Estado de Mexico. So clearly it's something that's very popular with domestic tourists, but not so much with international. And what I felt about Catorce was that it's much more well known in a way. So this kind of has a very different feel, which is done here the traditional way, underground, you know, dark, horrible conditions with a chisel and that, you know, chiseling the metal out of the rock. But in recent times, open pit mines have become prominent here. I believe these mines are actually owned by a Canadian company now. I'm not sure. Explosions where they actually, you know, detonate dynamite explosives to extract the metals from the rock. Now, I don't know much about mining. Is that an explosion in the background? Anyway, in fact, I know nothing at all, but it's quite interesting how there's these kind of like ridges battered out of the rock. I guess that's where workers would walk or something to set the explosives, I don't know. And you can quite clearly see in some areas where there have been explosions, it's almost like there's been a landslide or something. There are these sheer rock faces.
I gave my heart to a stranger. Father, forgive me for it, but I don't want it back. If this pain is what it means to have it, then I'd rather be without it. Gave away my heart to a stranger. If time was bendable, why the years go by so slow, as if it wants to remember.
Oh, there's copyrighted music everywhere. Yeah, this place was originally named, I think, San Pedro de Potosí even, after the place in Bolivia called Potosí, where I've been. So clearly there's that word is about, you know, the value that you get from the earth in terms of mining and precious metals, things like that. I believe it was named by a priest or a father who went to a nearby Pueblito, can't remember the name, and found that people used gold in like artwork and things like that. I don't know if that's true, but he, you know, asked the locals, where did you get this gold, this like powder or whatever? They told him this area, hence Cerro de San Pedro came into existence. Right, sorry about the wind, turn the subtitles on if necessary. I was going to have some food in the central area, lots of nice little restaurants with nice local food, but I decided not to for two reasons. Number one, we've had a lot of food in videos lately, so it's time to take a break. And number two, as I said, there's copyrighted music really loud, so YouTube would demonetize this video. Yes, I don't do this for fun, you know. But there is something even more spectacular to see, which is in front of me. So as you come out, mines like littered around, just in absolute ruin. So we're going to explore some of them. Adventure David is back. This is where you really get like a Pueblo Fantasma feel, similar to Riel de Catorce, Pueblo Fantasma, ghost town. And it really does feel like walking around Riel de Catorce again, with the cactuses everywhere, cacti, whichever one you want to say, and these old dilapidated brick buildings all over the place. And I'm not sure if these were like parts of mines. Some of them actually, there's signage saying they were mines, but you know, were these also sort of dwellings for people who worked at the mines? I don't know. I guess obviously when it was the old style of mining. This is cool. This is the sort of thing I love. Adventure, exploring the unknown. And like I said before, you know, I'm really kind of appreciative and happy that I've got the opportunity to come here, because it's not really somewhere that's visited frequently, and yeah, there's just so much to explore and have an adventure and clamber over rocks like you're Indiana Jones or something. And also it's a part of Mexican history that is so important, and coming to somewhere like this is essential in understanding that, I think. So there's even buildings like this, like almost buried into the rock. Perhaps the vegetation's grown over the top. I can't get up there because there's barbed wire. I could probably climb over it, but it doesn't look like there's much in there anyway. Let's move on. Quite difficult to get through because it's quite dense, and I've got to be careful that I don't do what I did in Bernal. Almost get bitten by a snake, but also put my hand in a cactus. It took about a week to get the tiny spiny bits out. Here's a good close-up. I never realised that the branches of the cactus trees or whatever actually had them on as well. They're like thorns in a way. Yeah, so you have to be careful that you don't, you know, do that if you're trying to clamber up something and want something to grab hold of. Believe me, I've made that mistake before. Now clearly I'm not a botanist or a cactologist. I don't think that's a real thing, but it's interesting, like all the different types of cacti that you find. You know, they're the sort of ones that your mum has in a pot at home, but here we are in real life. This is Pueblo Fantasmic. I just made up a new word. Obviously, phantasm in English. Was this like some kind of industrial building? 'Cause it's got a chimney and a staircase going up there. We can go inside. Feels like I'm in Serbia again, exploring abandoned buildings. Except this time, I think there's less likelihood of heroin addicts. This is really interesting. I'm just thinking, was this like a mine shaft going down? I'm not sure. You know, with the, you know, like the truck thingies, the carts that come out with the rock and the gold and that. It looks like it kind of, there's a decline. I don't know. Right, there are some rocks that I can climb on, so going for a closer look. Urbex exploring. Not really, oh shit, not really Urbex, because it's not urban. Okay, there isn't a decline, but I don't really know what this would have been used for. Who knows? Right, let's get out of here. Right by the San Pedro sign, think I can get up that way. Oh, okay, let's get this tree out of the way. Oh, there's dead cactus all over the floor. Lovely. Oh shit, pardon my language. Right, this tree is, I don't think it's actually attached to the ground. It's just a dead collapsed bit. Oh shit, look at that, like ridge thing up there. Wowzers. Hang on, I'm stuck on a cactus. Oh god. Ah, here we go. So how cool is this? We have, I'm assuming, an entry to a mine. Obviously, it's going to be locked, yes. Yeah, I don't know if you can see in there. Yeah, you can. It's like a sort of entry tunnel bit, I guess, and there's just a hole in the back. Is that where they would have gone down into the mines? I assume they would. Listen to that echo. Brilliant! Alright, we're heading up the steps. You can see my shadow. It's obviously getting a bit later in the day now, so we've got lovely golden hour sunshine lighting up these old mining buildings. I think we can go up there as well as another building, but I think we're going to carry on. Just take a moment to appreciate the silence. Stunning. Look at the colour of the rock behind me. Amazing. And before we end this video, I wanted to compare this kind of to an old trip, pre-YouTube. And for those of you that are from the States, you'll know what I'm talking about probably. In 2005, I was in Death Valley in Arizona, right? Not Nevada, it's Arizona. One of the hottest places on earth. And there's a ghost town there called Rhyolite. And if I remember correctly, I only remembered about this morning when I was walking here, that does that have a history with mining as well? I can't remember, but it kind of has the same feel, you know, the absolute silence and these brick buildings just sitting in the middle of nowhere, unloved and forgotten about. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Love this place. This is what I mean about Death Valley. I'm sure I walked through places like this where you can see the sort of the layers of rock there, very tall and sheer, as I said before. You know, cactuses to the left and more rocky outcrops to the right, and in the distance, you know, you've got these old buildings, which is just like Rhyolite. I literally feel like I'm there right now. Look at it. This is becoming an epic Mexico video, I think. So I think you've got the gist of the level of exploration that you can do in Cerro de San Pedro when you come out of the town. So, you know, what happened to me earlier, which we'll see in the description about me having to walk a lot of the way here. If I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have noticed that all of this was around. So sometimes things like that, when they happen, it's a good thing. If you remember the El de Catorce video, I went to like a ledge and I said, this is where I want my ashes scattered. This is a backup. If you can't get to that ledge in the El de Catorce, come to Cerro de San Pedro, and this is my resting place. This building, this room, I'm done. Right, so it's now the next day, clearly, because I'm wearing different clothes. Yes, I do change my clothes. And I must say, the walk back from San Pedro to Los Gomez, yes, I walked. It took about 2.5 hours through dingy farmyards, pitch black, oncoming traffic, using my torch, flashlight, on my phone to light the way. Was eventful to say the least, but I must say, in 2.5 hours walking, I probably learned more about rural Mexican life than I have in 2.5 years of being in and out of Mexico. So it was a wonderful Halloween adventure. Yes, it was Halloween. Pueblo Fantasma, ghost. Anyway, the thing about San Pedro I want to say is that, obviously because of the destruction going on because of the open pit mining, I'm probably being unrealistic because I'm sure that it will be protected, but who knows? Who knows what will happen in the future, whether that tiny pueblito, a magical place, will still be there. Will it be protected? I don't know. So if you are in Mexico, absolutely consider a day out like that. It was difficult, it was tough, but it was good fun. I really enjoyed myself. And we're now in a different location, okay? I will be back in San Luis for the last video of this series. Today is Dia de Muertos, it's November the 1st. Is anything happening? I guess we're going to find out. we're in one of my golden locations. Welcome back to Zacatecas. And the last thing I'll say is, isn't it great to watch a travel video in 2020 without a single mention of COVID-19? Oh crap. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Catch you later.
Gave my heart to a stranger. Father, forgive me for it, but I don't want it back. This pain is what it means to have it.
No one has been complaining about that you can't go to a parade or have a ofrenda on the street. You know, it's just one of those things about Mexico that I feel like the rest of the world could learn from.
Footsteps outside the door, my head against the bathroom floor, trying to distract